Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Han Zhang. I'm the Senior Director of Operations at the Prepare Montessori Institute. And I'm so excited today to be talking to Rachel from the very popular Instagram account, Mama in Japan. Welcome,
Hi,
Rachel.
hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wow, very happy to have you chat with me as well. So, Rachel is one of our 70 speakers that will be joining us at Discovering the Child conference upcoming this weekend. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure you sign up today. It's an online event with more than 70 global speakers from all around the world that will be joining us for a 24-hour nonstop program. Of course, we don't expect you to stay up for 24 hours, so we'll make the recording on demand for 2 weeks. So Rachel is coming to us as a parent. And like many other people, including myself, Rachel discovered Montessori after becoming a parent yourself, right? And
Yeah.
started your journey to learn more about the pedagogy and start implementing it at home with your children. So today, I love to just learn a little bit more about your story and have a casual chat about your experience. And if you want to know more about Rachel's story, there are two ways to do it. You can follow her Instagram account if you haven't already, Mama in Japan. And she will be speaking at our conference this weekend, Saturday at 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time, sharing her story with a few more other parents that will be on the same panel. So that's a lot of introduction. I would love to turn to you, Rachel. Maybe let's start by telling me a little bit about yourself, your background, your family, and we can start from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Han. So, hi everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm actually a chemical biologist. I'm a Filipina living in Japan. I have two boys. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm actually working full time.
Mhm.
While my eldest, his 6-year-old, he goes to a Japanese public elementary school, and then my 2-year-old, he goes to a Japanese daycare. So both of my kids are not with me for the most part of the day because I
Mm.
work full time from 8:30 to 4:30, and both of them, the other goes to school and the other goes to daycare, while we implement Montessori at home.
Wow, you must have a very busy schedule. By the time, what time is it now in Japan?
It's actually 10:45 in the evening here in
Oh,
Japan.
wow, wow. Tell me about I'm curious, as a full-time working parent, right, with two children, and you're doing this with me in the evening. What is a typical day like in your life? Like, just tell me about when you start your day. How does it look like?
Oh wow. So my kid, my elementary school kid, he has to
Hmm.
be at school by 8:20. So he has to leave at around 8 to 8:10 from home.
Hmm.
So it means I have to, at the latest, he has to wake up 7:30. So it means I have to wake up earlier, right? So I wake up around 6:30 to 7 around that time, and I had to be prepared before they wake up, right? I have to put on my makeup because I have to go to work from 8:30, and I'll be at work for the whole day, 8:30 to 4:30. And my other son, he goes to a Japanese daycare around that time
Hmm.
too. And then from work, so I'm fortunate enough that I don't have a long commute from my work to pick
Hmm.
them up and go home. So I pick them up. I pick my both kids, and then we go home around 5 o'clock, 5:30 at the most, at the latest. We'll be at
Hmm.
home, and of course, it's just the start of my day.
Hmm.
As you understand, like after
Yeah.
your work, it's just really the
All
start of
kids.
my day. I have,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, like it's not relaxation time, right? I have to dinner because we live here. My husband is also Filipino, so our family, our
Hmm.
relatives, everyone is away from us in the Philippines. So it's just
Hmm.
us. We don't have a helper at home, so
Hmm.
everything starts as we go home. My eldest actually attends Guidepost Virtual School. He's
Hmm.
enrolled in Guidepost, so it starts at actually 4:30, or sometimes in winter at 5:30. So he attends school. As soon as we get home, my elementary school kid attends Guidepost Virtual School, and then I have to prepare our dinner and
Oh.
and the back time routine until my husband usually typically will be home around 7 p.m. And
Oh,
our
wow.
day ends, not our day, my kids' day will end around 10. At the latest, they will sleep around 10. And that's the start of my me time. Like, that's the time that I will work on Instagram, or
Wow.
if if someone here follows me, they know that I love crafting. So I sew, I just learn how to sew or do some crafts and something something else. I always have to have like a creative outlet, and that's the time that I do it. That's
Wow.
not.
It sounds like a very packed days, but I'm glad that you're taking the time at the end of the day just to, really doing something you're
That's
passionate
very
about.
important. Yeah,
Very
that's very
important.
important for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally relate to that as a parent myself. You mentioned your eldest son go to a public school in Japan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Hmm. And he's also taking the virtual school when he comes home. I
Yeah.
assuming the virtual school is Montessori pedagogy. Tell me a little bit about the two approaches. Maybe both from your perspective and your son's perspective, the Montessori and the public school education approach in Japan. How does it
So
work? Yeah.
yeah, so after learning about Montessori, of course, I really wanted to put my kid in a Montessori school, right? But it's
Hmm.
just not possible in our situation. There's no nearby Montessori school here in our area. And if there is a Montessori school here in Japan, like Montessori School of Tokyo, it's going to be so expensive. It's just not
Hmm.
possible in our situation. So we had to put him in a Japanese public elementary school. So actually, what's interesting, in the beginning, I was so nervous in putting him there because I wanted him to go to a Montessori school, and I've heard
Hmm.
so much about the public elementary school system. But you know what? As we started, and as I didn't really research much because
Hmm.
I didn't go through it. The unknown part is what made me nervous. But as we go through, like as he entered elementary school, as I prepare, I was actually surprised on how some parts of it can be like Montessori aligned. So
Yeah.
yeah, because they have a lot of practical life activity. So they actually, if you are familiar with the famous YouTube video of Japanese elementary kids cleaning their own like space, and they serve
Nice.
their own food actually every lunchtime, like they
Hmm.
take turns in serving their own food. It's really interesting. Like they serve their classmates their lunch, and they have their own plant. Like they start at spring, and then they are responsible for it for the whole spring to summer.
Hmm.
And what else? Like the most interesting that I found out was they have their own manipulatives in mathematics. How cool is
Hmm.
that? Um,
Wow.
me, like one of the best things in Montessori, I think, is mathematics, and I've always wished that I learned math the Montessori way, right? I wanted to supplement at home, but so when I found out that the Japanese system actually have their own manipulatives, I was so surprised. I was like, "Oh, it's cool! Like it's not even so far from what I wanted my kids to learn." Yeah, but of
Hmm.
course, it's totally different. The main difference, I guess, of course, they don't have much independence
Hmm.
on what they want to do. Like, in the Montessori work cycle, like they can choose what kind of work they have to do. There's nothing like that because they have a rigid schedule on what to do, like for the first hour, second hour, like that. But
Hmm.
it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Like, actually, he's thriving in the
Hmm.
Japanese public school system. But when he goes
Nice.
home, yeah, you would think it'll be like a tight schedule because when he goes home, he has to attend a 90-minute virtual school. But he
Hmm.
actually loves the class. So
Nice.
that's why we are continuing in Guidepost Montessori School.
Wow, that's great to hear. And it's amazing to hear how, when we think about Montessori, a lot of people, right, there's this myth around it being inaccessible, very expensive. But at the same time, there's so many ways to do Montessori. I think your story is interesting because, your children go to a non-Montessori school, but at the same time, you both, yourself, finding ways to supplement their education with the Montessori method, and also just yourself as a Montessori parent, right? Applying that philosophy in your approach with your children. So it's interesting to show there's so many different ways to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like it took me some time to realize that like it's not all or nothing, right? It's not like
Yeah, it's
if you
not all or nothing. That's a
not all
good
or
way to
nothing.
put it.
So I'm so happy that I'm able to do that as well. Like with that short
Hmm.
amount of time that we have after work, and I'm
Hmm.
still able to apply something that I truly believe in with my kids. So it's
Yeah.
really a pleasure to do it with him. Really.
Exactly. It's interesting you mentioned it took you a while to realize that it's not or nothing. I'm curious if you can take us back in time. When did you or how did you first discover Montessori? And I guess what was your impression at that time and how that has changed now?
Okay, I'm just gonna give you a short preview because this is gonna be a huge part of my talk in the
Great.
conference. But
Yeah.
growing up in the Philippines, I grew up in the Philippines and I moved here in Japan almost 10 years ago. But
Mm.
growing up in the Philippines, I only knew about Montessori because it's name of a school. Like my classmates will
Oh,
be coming from Montessori schools. I never
oh.
knew that it's actually a philosophy or like a pedagogy. Like I never knew what it was. So that was my background about Montessori. Because I mean, in our time, it was not popular to implement it at home, right? Like when we were
Mm,
kids.
mm,
So I found out about it kind of late in the game with my eldest child. I found out about it when he was 3 years old, actually. And I found
mm,
out I was introduced to it through social media. So the beauty of
mm.
social media. And as I learned about it, and as a researcher myself, I had to learn more, right? So
Yeah.
I read a lot of books and followed blogs, followed social media influencers, and just I want to learn more, because I was amazed, and I think like the first impression will be like when you see the beautiful shelves, the prepared environment, it's very
Mm,
attractive, like for parents. But as you learn more, you learn that it's not just about the shelves, right? It's not
yeah.
just about the materials. It's a way of life, and after learning about it, and as a scientist myself, I know that it is backed by research and science. I was impressed,
Mm,
and I knew that's what I wanted for my kid. Then
love
I,
it.
I only had one child by like at the time.
Hmm. So it seems like, is there like a aha moment where you found out something about Montessori and you said, "Oh, that's it. I really want to do it." And what was the aha moment, or is it like a slower process? The more you discover, the more you like it.
I think, yeah, of course, it's a slow process. It's not like in the beginning, like because it's first. I think if you find out Montessori in social media, it's gonna be superficial. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
like that material. I like that beautiful environment. It's gonna be a slow process. But as I learn more, my favorite part in Montessori is that learning just to let your kids bloom on his own, like to be her true
Mm,
self, like not to mold him, and to be able to let them be independent, and
mhm,
to grow up and to be just who they really are, like without your influence. I
mhm,
mean, complete influence. And I like that the Montessori way fosters independence in our kids.
mhm,
Giving them choices. You know, I had a lot of regrets actually because I found out very late in the game. Like my son is already 3. So with
mm.
my second son, I started from infancy and I can see the difference. So
Yeah. Cool. That's amazing. It's interesting that you mentioned you also discover and kind of get started with your journey through social media, right? Through other influencers, blogs, parents sharing their experience. And now yourself is doing that to other parents, right? Like we are learning so much more about Montessori through your stories and your Instagram account. And it feels like a full cycle back. Um, I'm curious, why did you get started with social media? What was your decision to start this account and grow from there?
okay, so this is actually a part of my talk too, but
Okay, great. We should save it for the talk then.
you have to attend the conference to learn more about it. But in a gist, when I started about it, it's just actually proud because of my personality, because I love sharing information. Like if you're my
Mm,
friend, if I find a good deal, I'm gonna share it to you. I'm gonna send you all the links. So when I found out about Montessori, it's something that I really believe in. So I wanted to share that, hey, this is amazing, and this is what I'm doing at home. And but the goal was not to be like famous or have a lot of followers. I just want, it's like also like a diary of what I do with my son, really, because my Facebook was totally different, my personal account. I wanted to have a separate account,
mhm,
sharing what kind of activities, and probably also part of me wanted to find a
mm,
community of like-minded parents, because in your personal Facebook account, there's not everyone has the same, like not everyone believe in Montessori, right? Like if you
yeah.
post something, not everyone would understand, like why are you doing that, like why are you giving your child glass, like a glass, like not a sippy cup, right? Like they
Mm,
wouldn't understand. So a part of me was trying to look for a community
mm,
who will who will support me of what I believe in, and who understand why I'm doing this to my child. So that's
mhm,
why I started it, and I didn't realize that upon starting it, I will be reaching out to not just Montessori parents, but working parents or parents raising their kids abroad without families. Like they can relate to what I go through. So, and yeah,
Mhm.
so I was actually
Yeah.
surprised myself. I'm glad I started it.
Yeah, we're very glad too. We're glad we're talking here because you started your Instagram. And I'm actually seeing comments on Facebook, people saying
I
hi
really
to you. So clearly, you have built a very nice community of people who can relate to your stories. Yeah, and a lot of likes. Great. Yeah, I mean, I follow your Instagram account myself, and what I'm personally interested is you describe yourself as trilingual parents raising trilingual kids. That's very ambitious. Like I have a, biracial child myself as well, and language is such a important role, right? Both for their cultural identity and yeah. And can you tell me a little bit about, how you go about building like multilingual skills with your children? And I'm also curious, has the Montessori approach play a role in how you approach language education?
So actually, our setup is kind of unique, I guess, because
Hmm.
we are living in a country with its own language, so Japanese language. It's not our native language, right? So, but we are
Hmm.
both. My husband and I are both Filipinos. So in the Philippines, we are from Manila, so we speak the Filipino language
Hmm.
and also the English language. So in the Philippines, we are generally bilingual,
Hmm.
and we speak these two languages mainly at home.
Mm.
So
Okay.
my kids grew up listening to us speaking in Filipino, and we speak to them as well in the Filipino, but mainly we speak to them in English. And my
Hmm.
husband and I speak Filipino, and then outside our house they go full time because my kid started Japanese daycare very young, so as
Mm.
having an absorbent mind, it's
Yeah,
very
absorbed.
Maria Montessori said that they have a very absorbent mind, so it's so easy. It's so natural for them to absorb the three languages. I would say that their strong language will be English and Japanese. They are
Mm.
native speakers, especially in Japanese, and
Mhm.
then in the Filipino, they can understand Filipino and they can answer back a bit, but they prefer to answer in English.
I
So
see.
how I use
Mhm.
Montessori in the language part, to be honest, I don't teach them Japanese because
Mm.
they learn it at school. They learn that from the environment outside their house. So I supplement at home in English using the Montessori method. So I taught my kid how to read. I tried to teach my kid how to write in Montessori method. In
Mhm.
Tagalog, in Filipino,
Mhm.
we haven't started yet just because we don't have much materials here in Japan right now, but we have plans um, in the future to go back to the Philippines. And
Mhm.
yeah, but currently, like we use Montessori in teaching English at home. He
Okay.
attends, as I said, a Montessori school, and also before that, I supplement mainly everything, all the materials using Montessori method.
Nice, nice. So language and math, right? These are kind of
Yeah,
two pillar subjects in Montessori education. I'm
yeah,
glad you're
yeah.
embracing it. Well, there's so much we can chat about, and I also don't want you to give away too much of your talk at the conference. So, I mean, thanks again for taking the time to have a chat with me. I mean, personally, and I'm sure everyone here cannot wait to hear more about your story at the conference. So again, Rachel will be speaking at Discovering the Child conference coming this weekend. Her talk would be on Saturday, 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're in a time zone that doesn't, cannot watch the live portion, we're making the conference recording available for 2 weeks for all registrants. So definitely sign up if you haven't. Conference starting in less than 24 hours. And again, thank you so much, Rachel. And
Thank you so
yeah, can't wait to
much.
see you.
Can't
Yeah.
wait. Yeah. See you everyone. The platform. Please come and join us in the Discovering the Child Global Conference. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me, Han. It was a nice chat.
Yeah, nice chat. Thank you everyone for watching. Mhm.
Bye bye.
Bye.